Welcome back to the deep dive, where we take a deep dive, into a single topic,
Right.
based on sources that you've shared with us.
Yeah.
Today we are taking a look at the life and crimes of Edward Wayne Edwards,
Okay.
and he was convicted of 5 murders, but some people think he did a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
So to kind of unpack this, we have quite a few sources to look at.
Yeah.
We have excerpts from online discussions about him,
Okay.
a documentary about Edwards,
Got it.
excerpts from his daughter's memoir,
Interesting.
articles about his daughter, even his Wikipedia page.
Wow. That's quite the assortment of sources.
It is.
It's going to be quite a journey kind of weaving through those confirmed facts of his crimes
Right.
and then this maze of controversial theories that surround him.
Absolutely. So let's just start with what we know for sure.
Okay.
Edward Wayne Edwards was born in 1933,
All right.
and his early life was, to put it mildly, incredibly difficult.
Oh, yeah.
His mother committed suicide when he was just a toddler, and he spent years, being shuffled between orphanages where he later claimed he was abused.
Oh, so really rough start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to wonder how such a traumatic start in life
Yeah.
could shape a person's trajectory.
Yeah, it's certainly a question worth pondering.
Yeah.
While no amount of trauma can excuse taking another person's life,
Right.
it does make you think about how,
Right.
these early experiences might have contributed to his later actions.
And his path doesn't get any smoother as he gets older either.
Oh,
Ends up in juvenile detention,
no. Okay.
receives a dishonorable discharge from the Marines,
Oh, wow.
and then gets involved in a string of petty crimes.
So it's just escalating.
Yeah, and it all culminates in him becoming an FBI 10 most wanted fugitive for armed robbery
Wow.
in the early 1960s.
So this guy's been on the run.
Yeah.
But what I find so fascinating about Edwards is that even after serving time in Leavenworth, he
Right.
managed to completely reinvent himself.
Yeah.
He became an author, even a motivational speaker, promoting prison reform.
Wow.
It's almost like he created this new persona, this outward image of success,
Right.
while still harboring these dark secrets.
It's like a real-life Jekyll and Hyde story,
It is.
isn't it?
Yeah.
And this outward success is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
He publishes a memoir called The Metamorphosis of a Criminal,
Okay.
talking about his supposed transformation.
Right.
But all the while, he was committing murders,
Oh, wow.
5 that he was ultimately convicted of,
Yeah.
which took place between 1977 and 1996.
So over a long period of time, and we're talking about some truly horrific crimes.
Yeah.
In 1977, he shot William Lavaco and Judith Straub in Ohio,
Okay.
point-blank execution with a shotgun.
Wow.
And then in 1980, we have the Sweetheart murders in Wisconsin.
Right.
Tim Hack and Kelly drew a young couple brutally stabbed and strangled.
It's chilling.
These were not random acts of violence. They
Right.
were calculated and cold-blooded.
And it gets even more complex when you factor in his confession to killing his foster son,
Oh, wow.
Danny Boy Edwards, during a jailhouse interview.
So another murder.
Yeah, this confession adds another layer to this already convoluted story.
Wow.
It makes you wonder, were these 5 murders the extent of his crimes?
Right.
Or was this just the tip of the iceberg?
Yeah.
Which brings us to the controversial theories that surround Edwards.
Okay.
Some believe that he is connected to some of the most notorious unsolved cases in history.
Right. And a central figure in these theories is John Cameron,
Okay?
a retired detective who has spent years trying to link Edwards to cases like the Zodiac killings,
Yeah.
JonBenet Ramsey, and even the Black Dahlia.
Wow.
He's even written a book.
Okay.
And there's a documentary series called It Was Him, The Many Murders of Ed Edwards,
Right.
that explore these claims.
But a lot of people are skeptical of Cameron's theories.
Yeah.
And they argue that the evidence he presents is often circumstantial
Mm-hmm.
or just doesn't add up. Like, for example, some of the Zodiac killings happened while Edwards was already in prison,
Right.
which makes his involvement logistically impossible,
It would seem that way.
unless he had an accomplice, right?
Right. Yeah, that would complicate things.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot of debate about the validity of these claims.
Yeah.
Some people find the idea of Edwards as the Zodiac killer more plausible than other theories,
Right.
but the evidence is still lacking.
Yeah.
And it raises important questions about how we approach these cold cases,
Yeah.
where the line between speculation and fact can be blurry.
Right.
What responsibility do those presenting these theories have to be rigorous with their research?
Right.
And to avoid exploiting tragedies for entertainment?
Those are all valid points, and it's crucial to remember that at the heart of all of this
Yes.
are real victims, real families who suffered unimaginable loss.
Of course.
So before we dive into the more controversial theories, let's take a closer look at the confirmed cases and the impact Edward's crimes had on the people closest to him,
Right.
starting with his daughter, April Balascio.
April's story is truly remarkable and heartbreaking.
Okay.
She grew up in a chaotic and unstable environment.
Wow.
Constant moves, financial instability, and even domestic violence.
It sounds like her childhood was filled with red flags.
It does.
That something was deeply wrong.
Exactly. And it wasn't until she was an adult that she started piecing together
Yeah.
the puzzle of her father's past.
We're going to dig into that in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
But before we do, what are your initial thoughts on Edward Wayne Edwards? Does he strike you as a cunning criminal who was able to compartmentalize his life?
Right.
Or was there something darker at play?
Yeah.
A deeper need for notoriety that fueled his actions?
That's a fascinating question.
It is.
And we'll continue to unravel it as we move forward.
Absolutely stay with us as we unpack this complex and disturbing case.
I will! Welcome back to the deep dive. Before we delve back into the more controversial theories surrounding Edward Wayne Edwards, let's shift our focus to his daughter, April Balascio, and her incredible journey of uncovering the truth about her father.
Yeah, her story is truly a testament to the power of intuition
Yeah.
and the weight of carrying such a heavy secret.
Mm-hmm.
As an adult, April started researching cold cases,
Okay.
something that always kind of intrigued her.
Right.
And that's when she stumbled upon the Sweetheart murders in Wisconsin.
It must have been such a surreal moment for her
Yeah.
to be looking at this horrific case
Right.
and suddenly have these memories of her father's strange behavior around that time
Right.
come flooding back.
You can only imagine the emotional turmoil.
Yeah.
On the one hand, she's trying to solve a mystery,
Right.
but on the other hand, the pieces are pointing to her own father.
Talk about a moral dilemma.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And to actually make that connection,
Yeah.
to suspect your own father of such brutal acts,
Right.
that takes an immense amount of courage.
It does, and it's even more powerful when you consider what she did next.
Yeah.
She contacted law enforcement,
Wow.
providing details about her father's suspicious behavior around the time of the murders.
It was her tip, along with DNA evidence,
Right.
that ultimately led to his arrest.
It's fascinating how sometimes these cold cases can be cracked open by a seemingly small detail,
Right.
a memory that suddenly clicks into place.
Right.
And in this case, it was April's willingness to come forward
Yeah.
to potentially betray her own family
Right.
for the sake of justice.
Wow.
That made all the difference.
Her memoir, Raised by a Serial Killer, is a truly gripping read.
I bet.
She talks about the fear and the uncertainty that
Mm.
permeated her childhood.
Right.
The constant moves, the financial instability, the domestic violence.
All these seemingly unrelated events
Right.
suddenly make sense in the context of her father's double life.
And she also talks about the backlash she faced
Oh, really?
from some family members after turning her father in.
Oh, wow.
Some felt betrayed,
Yeah.
like she'd crossed an unforgivable line.
Yeah, you can understand that.
Yeah, and it highlights the ripple effects that these crimes have,
Right.
extending far beyond the immediate victims.
Yeah.
Fracturing families
Right.
and creating these complex emotional webs that can be incredibly difficult to navigate.
It's a sobering reminder that justice isn't always black and white.
No.
It can be messy,
Yeah.
painful, and come at a high personal cost.
Right.
Go.
But April's actions also underscore the importance of speaking up,
Yes.
even when it's difficult,
Right.
even when it involves those closest to you.
Absolutely. Now let's circle back to the more controversial theories
Okay.
surrounding Edwards.
Yeah.
One of the most talked about is his possible connection to the Zodiac Killer,
Right.
a case that has fascinated and frustrated investigators for decades.
Right. The Zodiac Killer terrorized California
Yeah.
in the late 1960s and early 1970s,
Mm-hmm.
claiming responsibility for several murders and sending cryptic messages to the press.
Yeah, even today, his identity remains a mystery,
It does.
making it fertile ground for speculation.
Right, and there's some interesting links albeit circumstantial, between Edwards and the Zodiac case.
All right, like what?
Well, for instance, we know that Edwards expressed a fascination with the case.
Okay.
And April recalls him making strange comments about it.
Really?
Almost as if he had insider knowledge.
Oh, wow. That's intriguing.
It's certainly intriguing, but is it enough to establish a concrete connection?
That's where the debate lies.
Yeah.
Some point to Edwards's manipulative personality and his history of traveling around the country, which aligns with the Zodiac's known movements.
Oh, yeah.
But critics argue that there's no solid physical evidence linking Edwards to any of the Zodiac crimes.
And there's the issue of timing.
Yeah.
As we mentioned earlier, some of the Zodiac killings took place while Edwards was behind bars.
Right.
Making his involvement logistically impossible.
Yeah, unless he had an accomplice.
Right.
Which, further complicates things.
Right. And it brings us back to John Cameron.
Yeah.
The retired detective who is so convinced of Edwards' guilt.
Right.
In not only these crimes, but a string of others.
Yeah, his methods have come under scrutiny.
Yeah.
With some accusing him of cherry-picking evidence.
Right.
And ignoring inconsistencies to fit his narrative.
Like, for example, Cameron believes that Edwards' book, Metamorphosis of a Criminal, contains coded messages and hidden confessions.
Whoa, wow.
He claims to have cracked this code, revealing details about Edwards' alleged crimes.
But many dismiss this as reaching, arguing that Cameron is imposing his own interpretations onto the text without any real basis.
It's important to note that Edwards himself was a master manipulator.
Right.
He enjoyed playing mind games.
Yeah.
And crafting a public persona that was far from the truth.
So, is it possible that he intentionally planted these so-called clues in his book?
Yeah.
To further his notoriety.
Right, to create this air of mystery and intrigue.
Yeah.
That would keep people talking about him even after his death.
It's a chilling thought, and it speaks to this larger question of how we separate fact from fiction when it comes to these high-profile cases.
Right, especially when they involve such charismatic and enigmatic figures.
And it makes you wonder about the ethics of pursuing these theories.
Yeah.
Especially when they involve families who are still grieving.
Yeah.
At what point does the quest for answers become more about sensationalism or personal gain than about seeking justice for the victims?
That's a crucial point. We need to be mindful of the potential harm that can come from unchecked speculation.
Right.
Especially when it exploits the pain of others.
But at the same time, the pursuit of truth, however elusive, is a powerful motivator.
It is.
It's what drives investigators, researchers, and even armchair detectives to keep digging, keep asking questions, even when the answers seem impossible to find.
So where do we go from here?
Right.
We've explored the confirmed crimes of Edward Wayne Edwards, delved into the murky world of controversial theories, examined the impact of his actions on those closest to him.
Right.
But the question still lingers, what is his true legacy?
Yeah.
What can we learn from his story, both as individuals and as a society?
That's what we'll be exploring in the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We'll examine the broader implications of his case and consider how it challenges our understanding of human nature and the nature of evil itself.
Stay tuned as we continue to unravel this fascinating and disturbing tale. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We spent the last two parts of this episode unpacking the life and crimes of Edward Wayne Edwards. We looked at the confirmed cases, the controversial theories, the impact he had on his own family, especially his daughter April.
Now let's take a step back and consider what this all means in a broader context. Edward's case really challenges our assumptions about what evil can look like.
Yeah, how so?
He wasn't some shadowy figure lurking in the darkness. He was a husband, a father, an author, even a motivational speaker.
It's almost unfathomable, isn't it, to think that someone capable of such brutality could exist in plain sight, even be seen as charming and charismatic.
Right.
It makes you question everything you think you know about human nature.
Exactly. And it highlights a particularly disturbing aspect of serial killers.
What's that?
Their ability to compartmentalize, to separate their dark impulses from their everyday lives.
So they can just turn it on and off.
In a way, yes. Edwards was a master manipulator, able to deceive those around him, including for a time his own family.
His appearance on that game show, To Tell the Truth, back in 1972.
Yeah, I remember that.
Is a perfect example of this.
It is.
He was presented as a reformed ex-con, and he played the part flawlessly, fooling the panelists and the audience.
It's chilling to watch that footage now, knowing what we know about his true nature.
It really is. It underscores the point that we can't always judge a book by its cover.
Nope.
The friendly neighbor, the helpful coworker, the seemingly devoted family man.
Right.
These outward appearances can conceal deeply disturbed inner worlds.
So how do we reconcile this? How do we protect ourselves without becoming paranoid and suspicious of everyone we meet?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
It's not about living in fear, but about being aware that evil can wear many masks.
Right. It's about listening to our intuition, paying attention to red flags, and not dismissing inconsistencies or unsettling behavior.
It's also about recognizing that even those closest to us can harbor secrets.
That's true.
April Balaccio's story is a stark reminder of that.
Yeah, despite growing up with Edwards, she didn't fully grasp the extent of his darkness until she was an adult.
It underscores the importance of trusting our own instincts.
Absolutely.
If something feels wrong, if there are unexplained events or behaviors that just don't add up, we shouldn't be afraid to ask questions, seek professional help, or even contact law enforcement.
I agree.
We often hear stories about people who had suspicions but didn't want to get involved or thought they were misinterpreting things.
Right.
But sometimes that gut feeling is our best defense.
It can be. And while Edwards is gone, his actions continue to reverberate.
Yeah, in what ways?
His victims' families still grapple with the pain of their loss, and his own children bear the weight of his crimes.
April, in particular, has shown remarkable strength and resilience.
She has.
She's chosen to use her experience to advocate for justice and understanding.
That's amazing.
She works to raise awareness about domestic violence, supports organizations that investigate cold cases, and speaks out for victims' families.
She's turned her personal tragedy into a platform for positive change.
Yeah.
A testament to the power of the human spirit to overcome even the darkest of circumstances.
It's an inspiring message. Even in the face of unimaginable pain and betrayal, there is always the possibility of hope, healing, and even redemption.
And that brings us back to you, the listener.
Yes.
What stands out to you most about this case? What resonates with you?
What questions are you still grappling with?
We've explored the facts and the speculation, the darkness and the glimmers of hope. Ultimately, it's up to each of us to form our own conclusions about Edward Wayne Edwards and his legacy.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into a truly fascinating and disturbing case.
Yes, thank you.
We hope it sparks some insightful conversations and left you with plenty to ponder.
We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.
For another exploration into world of information.